Greetings, brethren and sisters. Welcome once again to the Gillie Priest Revolutionary Channel. And I have some very interesting news and development to bring to the eye them. As you don't know, this program, this channel covers the Forged by Time Limited organization proclivities. Basically, that's the organization that was established to create the means and ways to better integrate people who have been deported from foreign countries into Jamaica. And we are working out of the office of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, with which we have formed an alliance. And one of the main purposes of this alliance is to bring in the brethren and sisters who were deported, to politically empower them and to use and to access the resources of the People's Political Party in terms of providing them with jobs and living accommodation and stuff like that through the farms which are being presently being developed by the party, to go into food production and to have these food production exported to the United States, to the more specifically to the head office of the UNIA, which is based in the United States of America. So basically, plant food, grow food, and give opportunities to people who have been deported. If they want to get into the farming business on a short-term basis or a long-term basis, and we accommodate them with living, and we hopefully be able to compensate them financially at a respectable level, and then those who choose to move on can move on. Now, in pursuit of this land development and agricultural planting and so on and so forth, over the Heroes Day holiday, which was we left on Sunday, we visited Montego Bay. Myself, as the Secretary General of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, in the company of the President of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, Mr. Antoine Campbell, and one of another executive member by the name of Oswald Dawkins. And we left here Sunday, this past Sunday, went to Montego Bay to try to come to some understanding with the owner of a property who is willing to lease it to the party at a reasonable rate so that we can begin food production. And that particular farm, we are really concentrating on growing cassava. And why cassava? Because the land has been used to cultivate cassava. It has been very successful in producing cassava. And that does not mean as we go along we cannot expand into other things on that particular property, which is consists of really 12 acres. 12 acres is a massive amount of land when we're speaking about for agricultural production. So it's going to be labor intensive, and it's as well going to be capital intensive, something we have to think about with that. So when we went there, luckily, we encountered a prospective member for the People's Political Party, and so that she's into real estate, she's into land acquisition. She was able to accompany us to the property owner's dwelling and to verify the documents that was produced. Survey titles, land titles, tax papers, and we went through a litany of official documents dealing with to make sure that we wasn't getting into any type of scrupulous dealings with anyone in terms of the land. We don't want to open up a land, clear the land, plant food, and then we are illegally occupying the land. So we have to pursue this thing very meticulously to make sure it legally can withstand question. We encounter one issue that may be resolved in the future where the collective owners, which are family members of this 12-acre land, at the present moment is only allowing us to deal with that land on a one-year basis first. And that does not make any practical sense to us, to go and lease a land, bring in bulldozer, clear the land, plant some food, and within 12 months, whether the food is ready to be reaped or not, we hear that the lease is up. So that makes no practical sense to us. We are trying to get at least a 12-year lease. There was also, and still is, some concern pertaining to the land, because the land is, for those who are familiar with Montego Bay, the land is above a community by the name of Iron Shore. Iron Shore is one of those upper middle class, if not upper class, dormitory dwelling, meaning massive private houses and Airbnbs that's owned by the rich and the influential, where this community is behind that, going up into the mountains. And from what we have been cautioned by some members of the party and by just regular people, is that we have to be careful in going up into those hills, because it can be treacherous from a criminal perspective, meaning that we will go up there and plant the goats, and when them ripe and them ready for reap, we hear that we cannot come back up there. We hear that gunmen take it over. We hear that we occupy the land illegally. We hear that we didn't succumb to extortion, whatever. But we have been cautioned on more than one occasion about going through with that deal. But outside of what we would call criminal proclivities, maybe towards the farm in the future, we have other grave concern because of the multiple owners of the land. We therefore would have to seek consent from all multiple owners, and they reside in foreign countries. So that's an issue to be visited on. While we were in Montego Bay, we went and met with the brethren down there who are executive members of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party in Western Jamaica, and in more particularly in Montego Bay. One of the executive members down there, Mr. Bennett, who's the president for that section and that chapter, and his assistants, I can't remember his name, Ricky something, but we refer to him as Ricky and India. That's his part of it. We met with them and we kind of went over some, how to put it, we revisited some grievances that we believe we were able to deal with successfully, to all who were involved satisfaction. We came to certain agreements. It was a very amicable agreement. It was a win-win situation, and we have decided to move forward into the future. And we would like to really strengthen the relationship between the central party headquarters here in Kingston and all the regional headquarters throughout the country. There's another branch, UNIA Marcus Garvey People's Political Party branch in St. Thomas. And I believe there are plans in the work to visit that branch shortly and to come up to speed and bring them up to speed and where the party is going, the direction we are taking, and the dedication that we are looking for, the logistic support that we are expecting from them, so that we can move forward towards the upcoming, the next upcoming general election, which may be within the next 4 to 5 years, and which constitutionally has to be called within the 5 years. We are also party-wise trying to revive and reinvigorate Marcus Garvey Day and His Majesty birthday right here in Jamaica, because if you notice the last Marcus Garvey Earth Strong will pass and His Majesty Earth Strong will pass, the celebratory community was far and few in between. We had to basically search to find places that were commemorating this event. And we haven't even encountered anyone commemorating Kwame Nkrumah. That man was dedicated and given so much to the upliftment of the African race within this dispensation. So we have plans to go into the future with reviving these days and trying to keep celebratory and informationary gatherings throughout the island sometime in the future. And as I speak, whenever we making the reference to the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, we are also speaking of the alliance between the party and the Forged by Time Limited, which is an organization created to accommodate the wishes and the best integrationary process for people who are being deported from foreign countries back to Jamaica. Another thing we're looking at in the party is to carry out a polling survey to find out what the masses, and when we're speaking of the masses, we are speaking more specifically of the 60% of the voting population who did not vote. What would they like to see being put forth by the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party? What is it that they are interested in? What are their major concerns? Because this is one of the things, executive members of parties in this country, which is what we know the two dominant political parties, is the executive who put towards an agenda. Most of the time they do not even canvass the population, they do not canvass the country, they do not canvass the total, basically 5 million Jamaicans that exist not only in Jamaica but also in that. What are their interests? In which direction would they like to see the country be taken? What policies should be at the forefront of government endeavors? So we are going to the people. At the present moment, we are trying to find a polling survey company who is willing to accommodate our desire and will put forth a basic question yet to be formulated to the masses in this country. But in a summary nutshell, basically, what would you like to see the Marcus Garvey Political Party being indulged in? And one thing that I also like to touch upon basically is that when we speak of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party, we are not speaking of a political party in the conventional sense, Right. We are speaking of a movement, and that is, I said it in one of the previous broadcasts. We are speaking of a movement of a nation and people, of leaders, where each and every member of this party can come to see his or herself as a leader within this revolution that we are trying to carry out in this country. We are talking about carrying out a revolution in this country that changes the mental, physical, and spiritual stagnation that is presently encased upon this nation, from Moran Point to Negril Point, Rocky Point, and so on. The 4 points of this island, we are definitely going to challenge them. And a lot of people may sit back and say, well, we haven't heard anything about this party. Well, you're going to start hearing about this party now. And we're coming to the fore. And we're pulling out all stops. Because one thing we have to continuously tell ourselves and continuously remind ourselves, this nation belongs to us. Our ancestors fight and died and bled and killed for this country. So we are not seeking the approval of anyone. When we say, as the People's Political Party, we are moving towards getting our hands on the levers of the state of this country. No man and no woman in this country is not entitled more than any of us to seek control of the levers of power in this country. Don't feel less than in any situation you may find yourself. You have your birthright. You have your indigenous right to this land. The indigenous right to the levers of the state of power. So we're not asking any friends or favors of anyone. What we need is the support of our bloodline in this country, the indigenous African people in this country, and any sympathizers and any empathizers who may be willing to sojourn on this journey with us. You understand? So that is where we're going. And we are getting the structures and strictures in place. Because we're not approaching this thing lightly. And we're not approaching this thing from a fantasy position. We understand the hard work that has to go into this. We understand the mobilization that is necessary. We understand the educational process that we have to go to the people with. Because remember, we're still living in a country. Right? 95% people infused with the African blood. And you still have religious institutions in this country where you can walk through and see some white fake Jesus, see some white disciples, see some white angel. And this is what, this type of false indoctrination is what is being imbued in the brain and the consciousness and the subconsciousness and the unconsciousness of the youths, of the children, to the unborn, not even in the stomach, because they have become susceptible to such false doctrine. There is no way in this modern time you're supposed to have any church in this country having up a white Jesus, and no white God, and no white angel, and no white disciple. We must not accept that from them. We must confront them about that. We're not going to hide up under any facade about every man have a right to religion and every man. No one have a right to falsely indoctrinate any child in this country. No boy, no girl. Not even our parents have that right to impose any false indoctrination upon the children of this country, because they are the future of this country. The security of this land and the security of its people will be in their hands tomorrow, if not in their hands already. So there is where we're going with this. And we're going to pull out all stuff. And we are going to confront all the enemies. And we are going to confront all the false doctrine. And we are going to confront all the false ideology that is imbued throughout this land. Throughout the educational system, throughout the religious system, throughout the social system, throughout the entire length and breadth of the civic system in this country. There is where we're going. When we talk to people in regional history, people are yearning for something. People are yearning for something new. People are yearning for the Marcus Garvey philosophy and opinion. People are yearning for a new direction in this country where they can see themselves in the development and the perspective of the future of this nation. When you drive and you go uptown, and you go New Kingston, and you go Africa, you go through the various capital of the 14th parish in Jamaica, we can point to massive, those buildings not benefiting us. We do not own those buildings. You can get falsified from them. Oh, look at my country. Look at the high-rise. You own nothing in it. And it does not act and operate in any of our interests. You're talking about the economy of this country is growing. And the economy of this country, how it has multiplied over let's say the last 20 years. But let me tell you something. When you look at the national gross income of this country, and it may be somewhere around, let's say, 28,000 or 27,000, whatever it may be. If you subtract from that number the economic ownership that the whites have in it, you subtract the economic ownership that the Chinese have in it, you subtract the economic ownership that the Indian, it may bring it down that every Jamaican only value about 600 US dollar for the year. And not that facade that they keep telling about 28,000 or 20,000 or 18,000, that if you divide up all the wealth in this country, every Jamaican can get 80. That's false. The vast majority of the people in this country, which is the black people, we own nothing. You go out in the main thoroughfare, you see all of us wearing uniforms, working in other people's establishment. Everybody have on them slave uniform going to and this is not to cast disparage upon the people who are working. But I'm trying to show you how they have pulled a wool over our eyes. Where we see these grandiose buildings and these grandiose highway and trying to indoctrinate you, telling you that's a part of your benefit. What benefit? What benefit? Look at the roads that lead down into the enclaves where we live and reside. Nothing but gutters, river gutters we walk in. So let's not feed into a fantasy which is to blind us. We are going to go to the people with our program, with our manifesto. We are going to present to the people the opportunity to liberate themselves, the opportunity to enhance their own self-agency. That is our mission. So everyone who is of the Marcus Garvey philosophy and opinion, everyone who is of this desire to see a new direction in the political and the economic sphere of this country, come to the fore. Come and give us your support. Come out and provide logistic support. Help organize your community. Reach out to us by the phone number right here and the email address. Every day when we go out there and talk to people, you hear it in them voice. Several times I stand up on roadside and talk to people in the security industry. in the teaching, education industry, in the tourism, and you hear them gripe. Them all have a gripe. But them it's like them don't know who to turn to. Them don't know what to do. Them don't see a pliable organization out there, a reliable organization out there, how to champion their cause. And that is what it is about. And we don't know armchair revolution. That we're not going to sit in an ivory tower and dictate nothing. And then it's like when we sit down and we diatribe about the people, and we diatribe about communism, and we diatribe about socialism, and we diatribe about go out in the field. People don't want you to diatribe. People want to see practical work. And if the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party is not going to go out there and do practical work, then we should be condemned just like all other parties who just talking and ripping and raping and robbing the masses. That is what we are talking about. There is not one single town, one single village, one single hamlet, one single capital, one single part in this country where you do not have Garveyites, whether it's on the conscious level or the subconscious level or the unconscious level. Garveyites flood the length and breadth of this country. And more so amongst the Rastafari movement than any other movement. But why, when it comes to us calling out for unity, calling out for organization, calling out for structures to be evolved, we are facing issues? You know who's to be blamed? The leadership of the party. We is to be blamed. Any dereliction that our people are in, it is the leader of this country that should be blamed. Don't blame the people. Don't blame the people. It is our duty to educate them. It is our duty to organize them. It is our duty to structure them. It is our duty to arm them physically, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and then help to assist them so they can see their own powers that is imbued within them from birth. Because it's one of the things we are facing our brethren and sisters. It's a 500 years of Babylonian false indoctrination, especially through the colonial and the post-colonial education. It's not an easy burden for lift off of the brain, you know. It's a tedious task which we have to indulge in day and night, 24/7, if we are serious about this struggle, if we are serious about this liberation. This is not a play thing. We have to express it. You see in the book here, this is the philosophy and opinion of the Right Honorable Marcus Garvey, right? And there's a section in it I want to touch upon briefly. And it's something we all have to be aware of because it has become a stumbling block in our path since 1929, you know, since the establishment of this movement. And like I say, I only use the term political party to contextualize it in terms of the venue where we are going to try access to get our hands and leaders. But we have a liberation movement first and foremost. Our leadership is made up of leaders and not of politicians. So we're not going to take a little down to earth, bare-faced, regular, scrutinized political venue in carrying this thing out. We are going to act as revolutionaries because that is what we are, and we must not be afraid of the term, and we must not be afraid of the duty that has to be carried out. That is where we have to keep reinforcing. So the part upon the philosophy opinion of Marcus Garvey, I was looking what edition this may have been, but anyway, underneath the subtitle, Traitors. It said, in the fight to reach the top, the oppressed have always been encumbered by the traitors of their own race, made up of those of little faith and those who are generally susceptible to bribery for the selling out of the rights of their own people. A lot of people have no faith in themselves. They have no faith in their own action. It is easy for them to succumb to bribery. It is easy for them to succumb to fear. And what we find easy, we find it easy for us run off our mouth and talk about changes and talk about struggle and talk about revolution. No for them now going on trenches. Neither physically, mentally, psychologically, spiritually. And people who is not of that depth, people who is not of that fortitude, people who is not of that constitution, it's easy for them to turn traitor. It's easy for them to denounce people. It is easy for them to denounce the movement. Because what? On the whole structure and structure is controlled by nothing but fear. And what them say, what you always hear him, the Babylonian, them say from long time, whether him originated President Roosevelt in the United States, whether him originated the term, or wherever him get the term from, the only thing we as a people have to fear is fear itself. Because once you conquer fear, nobody can conquer you. Because between we as a collective people and our hopes and desire and dreams is a curtain of fear between us and what we're trying to get to. We fear everything. We fear our very own shadow. We fear if we speak. We fear if we identify the enemy. We get caught up in this doctrine of so-called humanity where it's rubbish. You go into this humanity argument, our black people do is get into humanity fight to satisfy the proclivities of other people. Nobody no organize for free black people. But in everybody struggle upon the face of the earth, you can't find black man in there talk about him as a part of humanity and fight for other human being. Freedom. We have been caught in a web of semantics. We have been caught in a web of philosophy. We have been caught in a web of ideas that is meaningless to us other people, but it sounds intellectually good. It sounds intellectually legitimate. But it's rubbish and garbage. As Negroes, I use the term where them use from back then because Marcus Garvey words we are reached. As Negroes, we are not entirely free of such an encumbrance, meaning that we as the people treat all about amongst us. Sometimes we are the biggest traitors to ourselves, to our own proclivities where we desire freedom. To be outspoken, I believe we are more encumbered in this way than any other race in the world because of the lack of training and preparation for fitting us for our place in the world among the nations and races. You see, when you speak of right and right, so right upon your side and justice upon your side. Just knowing that can't liberate you, That is only the fuel where you have to use to fortify yourself to carry out the physical struggle. Because we as a black people, we want? We want freedom and liberty and justice and everything, but we don't want to fight for it. And we don't want to die for it. And we don't want to bleed for it. And we don't want to kill. We just want to drop out of the sky. With everybody else, you are talking about nationalism. Look what Europe are going through today. Where every nation in Europe and white nations outside of Europe are fortify themselves under white nationalism in order to preserve the illegal, ill-gotten loots and wealth that they have stored up over 500 years of extorting people. Them can rally around them white nationalism, but anytime you point to us as a people and we say black nationalism, then all of a sudden you hear we ourselves condemning ourselves. Oh, they want to come with this black man thing and a humanity for we talk about that. No confluence and the humanity upon the face of the earth has ever assisted us in our liberation struggle. You are the longest oppressed people upon the face of the earth. You think oppression just started 500 years ago with Western Europe? What do you think the Arab them did that do? What do you think the Persian them did that do? What do you think the Greek them did that do? What do you think that's an unbroken chain longer than 2,000 years? An unbroken chains of oppression. You go back to them doctrine of the Renaissance. Yeah? The Renaissance in the 15 and 1600s in Europe, when them say Europe get enlightened and came out of the dark age. What did enlightenment and European civilization mean to us as black people? It means slavery, it means rape, it means plunder, it means exploitation, it means slavery. These are the things we have to deal with, yes, brethren. These are the things we have to deal with and face on a daily basis. Now, when you go to the third paragraph, the trait of other races is generally confined to the mediocre or irresponsible individuals. But unfortunately, the traitors amongst the Negro race are generally to be found among the men highest places in education and society, the fellows who call themselves leaders. Leadership without action is meaningless. Academic leadership is meaningless without practical work, without going out there and producing and doing what is necessary to move people and organizations and nations forward. Because like Marcus Garvey pointed out in all of his doctrines, the earth itself is not getting any bigger, you know. But population grow, and as population grow, they feel more threatened in terms of land space. History has shown us that throughout Europe. So if you are not equipping yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, and all upon each and every other level, then you shall be contested, and you shall be displaced to the proclivities of others, because others have determined that the space you occupy will become a necessary space for their own survival, for their own living. So these are things that we have to take serious, both within the party and as individuals. These things have to be taken serious. Now to continue, for us to examine ourselves thoroughly as a people, we will find that we have more traitors than leaders, because nearly everyone who essays to lead the race at this time does so by first establishing himself as the pet of some philanthropic or other races, to whom he will go and debase his race in the worst form, humiliate his own manhood, and thereby win the sympathy of the great benefactors who will dictate to him what he should do in the leadership of the Negro race. We have seen this proclivities basically throughout the world. And because of a lack of resources, organizations who claim that they are here to help liberate the people, help liberate the race, help liberate the land, help liberate the continent, become indebted to other races because they go out there and try to get financial support. But one of the things that Marcus Garvey teaches us, and one of the greatest examples that was set by Marcus Garvey, is to create your own industries, create your own means of accumulating capital, and you use your own capital to finance the liberation movement, to finance the struggle, to finance the development of the nation. These are things that has to be self-financed. If you build up a culture where you are being charitized to the point where you cannot move, you cannot make decisions, you become crippled to those who play the tune. You become crippled to those who control the movement through donations. You become crippled to those who are able to influence your decision maker, because like you don't want to hurt feelings, you do not want to hurt individuals, you do not want to say anything that make other people of other races feel uncomfortable. This is the mental game that we play. But look what going on throughout Europe right now. Look what is going on throughout the Americas, where white nationalism is sweeping the place. You think them worry about your feelings, or how you may feel comfortable, or a lack of comfort in hearing these terms. You see it every day from from Donald Trump come down the escalator. Him let him know where him stand. He has rallied the consciousness of the white peoples throughout not only the United States or the Americas, but throughout the entire European lands. They are not have them no abash about standing up for what they believe in, what they believe protect their collective interests as a race of a people. They do not equivocate on any such positions. But we will become entrapped mentally and become susceptible to the feelings of other people. How them going to feel, how them going to see us. Do I sound intelligent? Do I sound intellectual? Do I sound legitimate? All kneeling before their altar of approval. And that is one of the biggest crippling and obstacles that we face as a people, and which the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party has to confront. There's no way about tiptoeing around an issue when you are speaking about attaining political power. You're speaking about developing up the agency of each individual in the country where them can make fulfilling decisions to uplift themselves within this economic system. Those are not issues where you have to approach from a mediocre position. You have to confront it. You have to deal with it if you are serious about it. To continue, it is generally, you must go out and teach your people to be meek and humble. This is what happens when you get controlled by outside forces. You understand? And like them always say, if you want to know, if you are controlled by others, just look about those who you are afraid to speak about. Because if you're afraid to speak about them, them control you. Tell them to be good servants. This is what the sellout leadership is being directed by outside forces to do. Tell them to be good servants, loyal and obedient to their masters. If you will teach them such a doctrine, you can always depend on me to give you 1,000 a year or 5,000 a year for the support of yourself, the newspaper, or the institution you represent. Right? This is the will and the desire of those who control your organization and you as an individual from outside. I will always recommend you to my friends as a good fellow who is all right. With this advice and prospect of patronage, the average Negro leader goes out to lead the unfortunate masses. These leaders tell us how good Mr. So-and-so is, how many good friends we have in opposite races, and that if we leave everything to them, all will work out well. It's one of the things that we as a people appears and seems unwilling to face is that our degradation, our oppression, the condition that we have been in for over 500 years is what has provided the illustrious living and the prosperous living of other races and other people. We are seen as nothing but raw material. We are the engines that power their nation, that power their economic, that power their systems. And that is what we have to face and accept. This is not an individual issue where you have individual relationship with people of other races, and based upon that individual relationship you have, you use that to cast and draw judgment how the collective should be approached. That is a backward way of looking at things. We are a people have been subjugated collectively, not individually, not through individual relationships. And if that is the way we are being schooled to be oppressed collectively, then collectively is the venue and the avenue to confront it. This is the kind of leadership we have been having for the last 50 years. So you can add on a couple of decades to that from the time when Marcus Garvey made this statement. It is nothing else but treachery and treason of the worst kind. The man who will compromise the attitude of his country is a traitor. And even so, the man who will compromise the right of his race can be classified in no other way than that of a traitor also. Not until we settle down as 400 million people, now we are talking about 1.4 billion people, no longer 400 million. And let the men who have placed themselves in the lead of us realize that we are disgusted and dissatisfied, and that we shall have a leadership of our own and stick by it when we get it. We'll be able to lift ourselves from this merit of degradation to the heights of prosperity, human liberty, and human appreciation. Like what Marcus Garvey said, none but ourselves can free our mind. None but ourselves can liberate us. Another people will never come and liberate you. Another people will never come and liberate us. And to make me know one thing for certain, your degradation, we as a people who have been oppressed for centuries upon centuries, it is our oppression that guarantees the life and the freedom and liberty of other people. You see, if you go back and you investigate the term, take a term like free trade. Today you hear people all over the world are banter about free trade. They have the right for free trade. You know how the term free trade come about? Free trade come about during the time of slavery, when the Pope designated the Spaniard and the Portuguese that they should have exclusive right in the free trade. And the French and the British said no, they have a right to trade freely also in human cargo. That are the foundation of free trade. And those people, when they use terminology like free trade and democracy and the rights to freedom, them not include your perspective in it, you know. Them a talk about them right to freedom and democracy and all them things. If you oppress you, them right to see you as less than, them right to exploit your labor, the right to exploit. That is what they mean by those terminology. And we have to learn to understand that when we hear certain elusive term, certain terminology that is so generalized, we must learn to stop looking at it and believe that our understanding and our definition of those terms are the same as other people. They are not. They are not. And those are the things we have to understand. So we already went through the things that we really want to touch upon, dealing with the procurement of land on a lease basis. The plan goes on to get things to export to foreign. We talk about the trip that we made to Montego Bay over the weekend to deal with that. We're talking about the opening of a store where we can sell goods and services to the general population right here in Kingston, and to use it to raise funds in order to move the movement forward. We touch upon the Forge by Time Limited organization and the polling that we're talking about undertaking to secure a company who will be able to carry out a poll to canvass the general population about what they would expect and should expect from the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party moving forward. Because just to reiterate, what I want to say basically is that what the leadership of the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party may galvanize from within their own consciousness, saying this is what they would like to bring forth. That can be at times different from what the people themselves desire. So we will go to the people and ask the people what they desire, what policy they would like to come to the fore to be discussed on a national level. Because there is where we are heading. We are talking about heading into the next general election in trying to field 63 candidates in 63 constituencies. And the logistic and footwork have to take place from now. You cannot wait till them announce election 21 days to go and then it's them time. That is just news grabbing, that is just headline grabbing. If you don't put in the footwork, it is fruitless. And again, we are looking forward to visiting the branches in St. Thomas, both for the UNIA and the Marcus Garvey People's Political Party. So this is it to all of the brethren and sisters. God bless everyone. One God, one aim, one destiny, peace, love and unity. Until another time. Bless up.